time to stitch some hearts. Join me today as I show 2 different ways to stitch a heart. I'm also going to show you how to create a beautiful blanket stitch border around your heart shape, and this also works for any shape that you want to add to your stitching. First, I'm going to cut a heart shape that I find in fabric, stitch it on, and then add that beautiful blanket stitch border. And then I'm going to cut a simple heart out of felt and stitch it on for a beautiful, simple effect. I have lots of ideas in store, so let's get started and see the different ways that you can add hearts to your stitching. So I have this tiny heart template, and it's part of my set of 16 seasons and nature-inspired templates. And this heart is ideal for cutting out a piece of fabric. And the fabric that I've chosen are these pieces of Sari Silk. So what these are recycled pieces from the bottom of saris. It's that very bottom trim of a sari, and they've been cut off. And I have pieces that are about 30 centimeters or 12 inches long. And I purchased them on eBay. They came from India in a pack. I think there was maybe 20 or 24 of them, all in different colors. And many of them have this beautiful gold thread in these really intricate designs. And so the one I'm looking at today is this green one, and really both sides could be used. And the reason I picked this is because if you look really closely at the design, you can almost see a heart shape. And so this is an example where I can cut a heart shape right out of the fabric without even using the template. I could, of course, place the template on there and cut around it, but because the shapes in this design are so perfect for a heart, I'm not even going to use the template at all. But if, for example, I was going to use this orange piece, this beautiful rusty orange, there isn't really a distinct shape that would work as a heart. So I could place the template on and trace around it and cut out part of the design in the shape of a heart. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to reinforce this fabric before I trim it to prevent some threads from fraying that may happen cutting into this gold thread. So I'm bringing out some light fusible interfacing, and I've cut a small square. Now this type of interfacing has these tiny dots that are actually glue. So one side feels rough and one side is smoother. So I know the rough side is the side with the glue that I'm going to adhere to the fabric. So I place it on the fabric so that it covers the entire area that I want to cut out. And then I'm going to iron it on. Just read the manufacturer's instructions if you're going to iron interfacing. They're all slightly different. So for this one, I'm going to place my interfacing with the glue face down on the back. And then I'm going to take a piece of fabric, this is some muslin, and place it over top to protect the surface. And then I'm going to come in and iron it. Some manufacturers want you to use a dry iron, some want you to use steam, so just read the instructions and follow those. I'm giving that a second to cool, and then I'm going to peel away my muslin and check and make sure that that's completely adhered, and it is. So now I'm ready to cut out my heart shape. So I'm going to snip this piece off, and then I'm just going to follow that pattern and cut my heart out all the way around. Now I'm going to bring out my scroll where I want to place the heart, test it out here, and I'm actually right at the edge of this piece of scroll. So I'm going to add some more to my scroll and make it longer. I'm not going to show that today. I'm going to show that in another video, how to join more backing and extend your scroll. So I'm taking a look at this heart and seeing if there's any trimming that I want to do. I think I want to take off those top points. It's a little too pointy, and round it off. And then I just need to decide on the placement for this heart. So I've decided that I want to tilt my heart a bit so it's not perfectly straight. And now I'm ready to stitch it on. So I have this sewing thread. This is sewing machine thread. And when I get to the end of a spool of thread, I save them. And they work really well for basting fabrics and also other types of hand stitching. So I have this dark green color that's not going to show up when I stitch it. So I'm going to thread my needle and I'm going to come in and take some stitches around the body of this piece, trying to avoid that heavy stitching, and attach it in place. And I'm also going to go around the edges and take some straight stitches perpendicular to the edge to make sure it's completely attached. So there's my first round of stitching you can see on the back. So now I'm going to bring out some of my white floss and I'm going to stitch around the edges of my heart. So here I've stitched around my heart. I used the split stitch and stitched right up at the edge and created a nice white border. So now I'm going to surround this heart and outline it using blanket stitch. So I have 2 strands of embroidery floss and I'm going to come up right in the middle of the heart, right at that V shape in the middle. And I'm going to bring out my thread and hold it to the left with my thumb. And then I'm going to go down right into those stitches that I made to surround it. Go right in there with my needle and come up a short distance away, just like 1/2 centimeter. And I'm going to create that loop because I'm holding that thread out of the way. And then I'm going to move over and go down into that white thread that's around the edge of the heart and take another stitch and come up a distance away. And I'm going to continue this way. So I'm starting with very small stitches. The height of them is quite small. And then as I move around, I can relax a bit with the height and let them get a little bit bigger. And I continue to hold that thread in my left hand out of the way so that when I come up, I'm creating that loop of the blanket stitch, pulling that thread through and creating that beautiful knot at the top. I'm just going to keep on moving around. Now when I get to the very bottom, that V shape on the bottom, I'm going to take a few stitches fairly close together to help me turn that corner and go up the other side. And then I just continue and work my way all the way back to where I started. And when I'm taking those last few stitches, I'm going to make them shorter than my other stitches so they can fit inside that V shape. So there's my 1 round of blanket stitching surrounding this gold and green heart. And if you wanted, you could do another round and several more rounds of blanket stitch surrounding your heart, depending on your design and what you think looks good. I'm going to leave this at 1 round, and then I'm just going to add some more stitching to continue the theme that I've started with my scroll so that it integrates with the rest of the piece. So I've added some more stitching all around this heart. I've brought in some orange thread and I've continued adding white. I'm really happy with the way that this heart looks. So now let's turn to using the template to cut a heart out of felt. So I have a piece of orange felt and I've put my template on it and I've traced it with an erasable pen. So now all I have to do is get my scissors out and cut that out. Here it is, and now I'm going to place it on this piece. So I can audition it and decide where I want it to be. I think I like it down here in the corner, but I can move it around and decide exactly where I want to place it. So I've chosen some embroidery floss that matches fairly closely to the color of this felt. I can even move that floss around on my stitched work to make sure that I think that color goes. And now I'm ready to stitch. I have 2 strands of floss I'm simply going to work my way around this piece, taking small stitches all the way around until it's completely attached. So here's my heart. Very, very simple. I really like the way that looks. That felt on top of the fabric, it's a different texture. It's a little bit puffy. You could just leave it like this. You could also add more stitching to it. It's completely up to you. It depends on what you like and what works with your design. So I think I'm going to add some more stitching to my heart just to give it a little bit more color and texture. So here I've added just straight lines of stitching. I chose a pale green color. It almost shows up looking like white. I like the texture that that's added, and it almost reminds me of a strawberry. So I really like that double meaning there with this orange heart. So there you have it. 2 pieces of stitched work and 2 completely different hearts. Now, if you're stitching along, I really want to see what kind of heart you create. And I've provided some links to show the different ways that you can share your progress. So if you're going to be stitching a heart on your piece, keep in mind that you have lots of options in terms of the fabric that you use and the type of stitching that you add to it. You can use a template or not. Maybe you have a piece of fabric that you can look at closely and find a heart in it, like I did. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, happy stitching.